Hello, everybody, and welcome back or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. On this channel, we talk about all things photography education with a focus on making more money as a photographer. Today, I have the honor of chatting with an amazing photographer and my friend. He is an award-winning photographer, a Photoshop wizard, and probably the most amazing composite artist I've ever seen. He not only has a full-time portrait business, but also finds time to help other photographers and has an entire education platform for them. And on top of that, he agreed to come on my channel and talk about how AI is affecting the photography industry for better or for worse. And he's also going to talk about his Peak Senior Summit and how you, my lovely viewers, can get a free ticket to join us. Please welcome Dan Frievalt.
Hey. Here, this is just the AI avatar. So
It's all a mirage.
it's all a mirage. Yes. If you see me glitching,
Exactly. Tweaking over here a little bit.
tweaking, yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. So awesome.
Awesome. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on here and chat with me.
Absolutely.
So, Dan, you and I actually met at Fusion, which is like a senior photography workshop. It was in Nevada, if I remember correctly. And I have to be honest, I had never heard of you at that point. I didn't know who you were. And my first impression of you was this guy with a goatee and piercings. And I was like, oh my God, here's another like male photography ego coming over here. But once I got to know you, you were genuinely one of the nicest people I think I'd ever met. So interested in helping people and just amazing. And so for that, I applaud you. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful person.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know. I get that a lot. Tattoos and stuff. Going through airports, I'm always getting patted down. So
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we should double check this
They're
guy.
like, this guy looks suspicious. And
Right.
one time we were getting back from Mexico, and I'm like, hey, I made it through without getting patted down. And then you know how you get like right before you get on the plane, every once in a while they pull people to the side.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So I got pulled. So my buddy's like, ha ha. You were
Thought
talking
got
big.
through.
I thought I made it for once.
So let's talk about AI. So let's start with one of the questions that probably is on everybody's mind, kind of a doomsday question. Is AI going to ruin the photography industry? Should photographers be afraid of it, or should we kind of go with it and jump right in?
Great question. And, when I first started playing around with AI, I was keeping it hush hush because I didn't want to be judged. And I knew it was really polarizing. But then one day it hit me because I knew photography and I had done photography in the film days, but I was never a full-time professional photographer with film. I was a graphic artist, but I always loved photography. I always wanted to do photography and never thought I could make money being a photographer. When digital cameras came out and started really coming in, that was it. I'm like, I am quitting my job. I'm going to be a photographer because now everything's come together for me. And I came into the industry, the PPA industry, the young gun, the digital photographer, and all of the big polarizing thing at that time was digital is going to kill the industry. Digital is going to kill the industry. It will never take off. Film is the thing. And the people who did embrace it got left behind, and it took off fast, a lot faster than people realized, and faster than I thought it would take off too, quite honestly. So I look at AI as the same exact thing. Like it's here to stay, love it or hate it. So we have to find a way to embrace it and use it to our advantage. If we don't, we're going to be left behind, just like so many photographers who did embrace digital photography back in the day. So that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. And I love to hear that because I wasn't a photographer during the film days. So it's kind of like digital was only the thing when I started. But I do agree with you. I think that AI is here to stay. I think that we should use it. I don't think it's going to ruin the industry. I actually honestly think it's going to help us. Typically photographers were solopreneurs, or maybe we have an assistant or, an editor or something like that. And so honestly, it can only make our jobs easier. And I know that you and I have actually kind of found that through the softwares that we use. And that kind of is a segue to the next question, is kind of what types of AI softwares are you using in your business? What have you found most useful? I know you and I both use Evoto, so we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Evoto is a software. It's AI, but I guess it's AI. I kind of forget sometimes that it's AI and it's using data, I think, to help with retouching and everything. But other softwares, of course, ChatGPT for text. I'm very bad with grammar and spelling and stuff. So even before ChatGPT, I was using, you could call it AI softwares like Jasper and Copy AI, things like that to help me write blog posts, to just help me refine what's in my head. Also, a lot of creatives and ADHD and a million things going in. Sometimes I just need to spew a bunch of like bullet points and like now make this kind of sound good. Or I write a whole article, but it just is clunky because my
Yeah.
mind's all over the place. So it just helps refine it and polish it up. So even before ChatGPT, I was using a lot of programs like that to help me text wise.
Hmm.
What other things? I mean, there's things for podcasts, for the summit, editing with the script, using just to do like I'm using it. I was just using it today to create like subtitles.
Hmm.
So if people want to just, listen or read instead of just listen, it will automatically turn your text into or speech into text. So yeah, a lot
That's
of different
awesome.
things. Generative fill. Of course, you have your Adobe Firefly or Midjourney or Leonardo to create AI imagery.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
So do you use Midjourney? Like, what do you use to create your amazing like composite backdrops? Because I've always just been baffled by those. They're so amazing.
Yeah, and so I would always shoot everything on my own and put it together, especially for competitions or like this image behind me, shoot the background and then photograph the image and then composite them together.
Got it.
You had to make sure you had the lighting right, the angles right, everything had to be right. Or sometimes, it's the middle of winter and I need a certain like car part to create a composite and it's like it's in snow or like I just don't have it. So whenever I was traveling or whatever, I was just creating my own stock library of whatever I saw so that I could put things together later, or photographing, football fields, baseball fields, buying other people's stock backgrounds or either stock. Adobe doesn't have good stock, just like fields and backgrounds. So like
Yeah.
other photographers would create like sports stadiums and things like that I would purchase and put in. So it was always creating on my own. With AI, now you can create whatever is kind of in your head. Doesn't work perfectly, so there's still putting other elements in to make it work. But that's kind of how I've been doing composites a little bit. Like I've been combining all things now
Mm.
instead of just AI background or just a photography background, because I have so many different elements and it doesn't quite come to the vision in my head. Still piecing it together to make it my
Yeah.
own, I guess.
Yeah. Nice. I love to hear that. Going back to something you just mentioned earlier is using ChatGPT for blog posts, which I think is incredibly smart. It's something that I've played around a little bit, but I think that can be really helpful for photographers, because I don't know about you, but like for me, blogging is really important for SEO, and keeping like websites kind of current for Google and things like that. But it's hard as a photographer to take the time to like sit down and type out an entire blog post that is like SEO optimized and things like that. And to come up with like topics and like helpful things and whatnot. I found, I don't know about you, but I found that ChatGPT is really helpful for that. Just like putting in, be like, come up with 10 blog post topics. Okay, now write all of those blog posts for me. Obviously, you have to go back and kind of like edit them, but it's been really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Like in my membership, I was showing how to, take like an image and you can even put an image in and say, describe this image for a social media post. Because like how many, I kind of run out of ideas. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, Sarah crushed it today in her senior portrait session. And, Emily was so awesome with her lacrosse,
Right.
outfit. Like it just gets kind of like, and then try and write a blog post about that. So,
Right.
I would have forms. I tried everything through the years, like fill out this form. Well, no one would fill them out. I was like, give me some things where you're going to college, what's your aspirations, is kind of build blog posts. That didn't really happen. So
Yeah.
it's like put an image in, describe this image, write like 5 different social media posts. Now take those social media posts and here's the school she goes to. Here's a little bit of information and write a blog post about it, make it SEO optimized. Yeah, you could just keep adding and adding and adding to that thread. And that's what's cool about ChatGPT as compared to just like copy AI. Like copy AI, you could give like topics for a blog post and it would kind of write it and then you could refine it. But with ChatGPT, it kind of learns and you can talk about tone and, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was one of the things that blew my mind when it first came out. It was like you could tell it to like look through your own website and then go based off of that tone and then create more content on that. And I was like, this is amazing. It's a virtual assistant that I always wanted.
The way I've been using it too is kind of coming back to the composites. And you were at Sync this past year, so like kind of touched on this in my program. But the older I get, the the less I know about certain things. I'm really good with pop culture and these trivia, but as we get into some of this new Marvel, and Marvel's not even that new, but anyway, some of the video games and things that high school seniors are into, just things that they're into in general, it's tough to keep pace with all that. That's what I love about the senior industry is I get bored easily. So I am always like want to be like cutting edge on and knowing what they're up to and what they're doing. So sometimes that can take some time. And I would just Google things and research things. But now with ChatGPT, I sit down with every senior before I photograph them, ask them a bunch of questions, write things down, and then I can put that information into ChatGPT and, tell me all about, for instance, and some of my friends laugh at me, but I'm not a big Marvel fan. So I had a girl come in and she was big into Loki, but Loki and The Last of Us, which I did watch the show on HBO, but I didn't know that there was a video game. So I just plugged a bunch of things in and say, give me all this information. Or she liked these books, The Court of Thorn and Roses. Like, give me, all this information. So it spit out all this stuff for me. I'm like, okay, now I have a vision. Even though I didn't know anything about those 3 topics, from what it gave me enough information that I could create a composite. And I took that information and said, create some prompts that I can create some background images in, I use Leonardo. I don't use Midjourney. I like Leonardo better. It's the same. So it created some imagery for me. I also looked at imagery online. I put some of my own things in there, like flares and clocks and different things, and created several different composites for her. And she's like, when I did the image reveal, she's like, you nailed it. You nailed everything about those things. And I was like, shoot, because I didn't really know, but I had a good idea based on just the research that ChatGPT gave me from all of those things that I never would have been able to do in the past.
Right. Well, and how amazing is that ChatGPT, you started there and it allowed you to create like this amazing experience and probably an amazing image reveal for her, and really like just blew her away, and maybe hopefully even increased your sales with that client,
Absolutely. And then of course, when they see something like that, other people talk about it. It's like, okay, I had this other girl come in with baskets of books. She loved reading, baskets of books. So I'm with my phone taking pictures of all of them. And it's like, okay, I plugged them in. Like, tell me about, this series of books. And another one, she's like, oh my gosh, that scene, it's like I'm there in the book. Like, it was crazy,
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really neat. Okay, so then going off of editing, how we kind of touched on Evoto a little bit and the other things that you use are like, how are AI tools like automated editing and culling and things like that? How has that affected your workflow, and or like how could it help other photographers' workflows?
Yeah. So as far as culling, let's start with that because that's one area where if I was a wedding photographer, I would love it. Like,
yeah,
I joke, like, I almost want to be a wedding photographer again because back when I did wedding photography, it was so much time and it was so hard between album design, culling images, retouching images. It was just, you did your wedding and that was a stressful enough 10, 12-hour day.
yes,
But you had basically a whole nother week, 40-hour week for everything else. And now that can be like shrunk down so much.
yeah,
But you still won't have me. I still won't be doing weddings. But
Yeah.
As far as a senior workflow, I've tried the culling softwares. They're great. I can cull super fast a senior session by myself because even though my sessions are 2-3 hours long, I know how I shoot. And it's not that I don't trust the software. It's just that I'm shooting and I'm refining and shooting and refining because I've done it so long. I'm fixing things as I go. So I pretty much know the last shot that I took is the good image. And so I could just write in Bridge, just go through, I can cull a session, like 300 images in like 10 minutes. So it's super fast, and that's just me. So that part I don't really use, but there are some great softwares that do that. And then as far as from that point, like I bring those images in to Evoto. What I love Evoto for, not just retouching, is I bounce from area to area and I shoot with off-camera flash, but the colors of the scene is the ambient because I'm just putting a kiss of light in with off-camera flash. So it doesn't look stroby and flashy. It looks like natural light, but it adds that punch and that pop to the eyes, that sparkle to the eyes. So as I bounce from location to location, color, like the color balance shifts a lot. And I don't always nail exposure, so
I don't
exposure
either.
can be off. Yeah. So that would take me time adjusting color and adjusting exposure. I've done X-Rite color passports. I've done white balancing in each area. It just slows me down. With Evoto, I have a preset set, and then I set that to the first image, and it does my retouching to all the images as well as automatically adjust exposure and color balance to all the images. So they're all like within whoop, they're pretty much done. Now we go through each one and just kind of thumb through it quickly and double check, but I can edit an entire image or entire gallery of like 100 images in 10-15 minutes.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It blows my mind.
Right. Because how long would that have taken you, like, before AI editing?
It would take, great question. So I do in-person sales, and I still am. I still believe it's the best way to make money in the portrait industry, high-end luxury clients, things like that. So I also stressed for years is like, you never retouch your full gallery of images before you show them. You're just wasting time because you could spend hours and hours. And I was a fast editor. I am a fast editor. I still, if you figure if I spend 5 minutes an image and there's 100 images, I'm like, easily that's an hour. And most people aren't that fast. And even I'm not that fast at times. It could be a few hours. So you're wasting time on images they may never purchase. But with Evoto, you can show now retouch images because it's 15 minutes and it's done.
Yeah.
So I would always stress like retouch like 2 to 5 so they get an idea. Those are your favorites. Even if they don't buy them, I'm going to use them for social media and things like that. But now I can show fully retouched images and it's well worth it. And it has increased my sales because they are seeing that when in the past they maybe had a little self-conscious a little bit, and I would run, there's other softwares that have been around a long time, like portraiture and stuff, where you could run like a filter. It wasn't really AI. It would just kind of blur and soften the skin a little. I would run that to make it look a little bit better, but I would never leave that on. Whatever they purchased, I would then go back, take that layer off and hand retouch or outsource it to get retouched so I can spend time with things that I like to do instead of removing pimples.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you had brought up just editing a few photos initially and showing like unedited in the reveal. Because I have always actually fully edited galleries before sending, but I only would usually send like 30 to 60 or not send, show 30 to 60 images. And I would pay someone else to do that. But at the same time, like I was paying per image at that point in time. I do feel like fully edited images give more like a wow factor and ultimately probably, in my opinion, raised my average sale per client. There are some photographers that swear by shooting straight out or showing straight out of camera and, not having a problem with it. But for me, like that was something that I always wanted to do. And for the longest time, honestly, I was too proud to use Evoto or like anything like that. I was like, oh, it takes the artisticness out of whatever. And I like, now I know that that's kind of bullshit. And I was like, no, this is like way easier. Like I very much prefer doing all this because the AI can just like figure out where the skin starts and ends and like who's like an older person and who's a younger person and edit based off of that. And like all of these like really cool things that, like you don't have to do by hand anymore. It just makes it so much faster. And honestly, it's given me, I don't know about you, but much more time back to do other things and potentially even book more clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, kind of coming back to what you said, you outsourced it and you worked that into your cost of sales. So that's not a problem. Where a lot of people they were spending hours upon hours and they weren't charging enough. And then, so that's where they would get into this nonprofit, where it didn't pay for them to do it. And so they weren't seeing the benefit. But the way you were doing it, yeah, that is, ideal. And now with Evoto, you can do it. And on top of that, we keep talking about Evoto. If you haven't like played with Evoto, you don't know anything about Evoto, not only is it awesome, fast, and AI based, and the retouching looks fantastic, it's super inexpensive. Like if you were paying, like I was in the past, which I thought was cheap, and it still is, it's like $2 to $5 per image. I thought that was a steal. And now with Evoto, it's like 10 to 15 cents an image. So even if they don't purchase all the images, I'm like, it's pennies for
Literally
me to show
pennies.
them all. That show, and that's the thing. Like when I first started playing with them, like, well, how much is this going to be? Or is like every time they export it, are you going to get charged? It's like, no, as long as you don't move that image from the original place you started, you're not getting charged again. And so, yeah,
that's awesome.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. So then going off of that, do you think that AI tools can enhance creativity, or do you think that it might actually hinder it?
Well, I guess it depends on how you use it. I think it can enhance creativity because for me, I kind of there's things in my head that for many years, it was like like the vision's there, right? But I didn't have the technical skills to put them together. So I worked really hard to earn my master artist degree, to earn my master photography degree, to kind of push myself and get those things that are in my head out digitally by creating composites and stuff. That takes a lot of brain power and a lot of skill and a lot of things. So, with AI, it makes it a lot easier. And the other thing is because if it takes too long, you can kind of lose like interest in doing it and never really follow through. So having a little jump start is nice. And I think it can push you a little bit and be like, okay, it kind of gave me a renewed excitement for creating composites again, because I can kind of get some of the things that are in my head to create something or have like a base. So I'm not starting with a blank slate, which is why like when I was growing up and in high school, like I never thought I was artistic or creative. Well, I was creative. I had ideas. I just thought everyone had daydreamed, right? But I never took art classes or anything because I couldn't draw. I can't start with a blank slate and like draw anything. That's not me. So that's why I love photography, because I was able to start with something. And then when I started doing graphic design, I could merge the design and photography. I started with something. So AI is just another little thing that can kind of latch on with the other two things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
One other quick point before I forget too. Along with that, the main thing that everybody has a problem with is copyright. There's still like, oh, where are they sourcing these images? Where is AI sourcing these images from? Are they stealing, my artwork, your artwork, things that we put on the web? Did we agree to that? Did we not agree to that? Like there's all kinds of things that you can go down a rabbit hole with. So it kind of depends on how you feel about that. But there's also like Adobe Firefly, which is through the Adobe. They have, and I've played with that, it's pretty cool too, is they have an AI generator. And as far as I understand, is all their learning of AI was based off of stock imagery, which was uploaded to Adobe, which people gave the rights to let AI learn from. If you're worried about like Midjourney and things like that, where they're sourcing the imagery from, and if there's shady stuff going on, supposedly Adobe is the ethical AI.
Yeah. Yeah,
if
no,
there's such a thing. But
yeah, I
okay,
think
see, I can get on all kinds of tangents. Sorry, you could go. I
no,
mean,
you're
because there's other things that photographers do that aren't ethical, and you may not even know it. Like playing a radio. If you have a radio station on, supposedly, I have heard this from other, except for people, so I pretty much think it's true. If you have a radio station on when you're doing a session in your studio, technically, you're not paying for the copyright of that music. You're making money off that session. That music could be enhancing that session, and technically that's illegal. So you're breaking copyright code,
Yep.
like right there.
Yep.
Where do or if you take a photo, let's say you take a photo of a senior, they're in front of, you're in Italy and they're in front of a fountain or a sculpture. Well, that artist created that, or
Yeah.
that painting that's on the wall, or that photograph that's on the wall in the wherever you're photographing, technically that you don't have all rights to that image. So there's my soapbox or whatever.
No,
Yeah.
it's so true. And what you're saying about the music thing is so funny because I've heard that too. Like anytime you go into a restaurant and you're hearing music, so they're supposed to have like a business subscription to either like Spotify or Pandora or something like that, because then it kind of covers that copyright. But I would bet that oftentimes they don't.
And what did we do before Pandora? That's why there was Muzak, right? Like in the elevator, it was like. Ding, 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 ding.
I don't know. Can you do that one more time for me?
You're right. Copyright it. Every time this plays, I get a percentage now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on AI generated images? Like specifically, I'm thinking about like headshots. Like when someone like uploads their like cell phone picture of a selfie of themselves and then tells AI to make it a headshot or something like that. What are your thoughts on the impact of that and us as an industry?
Yeah, I haven't been too impressed with how they look. And, just like anything, there's going to be people who do it. Generally, they're the ones that aren't going to pay for the experience. So as long, AI, we can embrace it and we can, love it or hate it. But I don't think it's ever going to replace us completely, and the experience, the luxury thing. Like I compare it to, there's certain things like industries. I look at other industries. Well, how did the internet affect travel agents? Like you can book a vacation online by yourself. It's pretty easy. There's still travel agents out there because they're providing the service. They're doing the planning. They can help you if you just don't want to deal with it. Like we use a travel agent. There's times I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. Like I want to go here. Or they've gone to these areas. They know these resorts. They know our personalities. My wife and I are like, hey, we have these 3 or 4 places that we think you would love.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hook us up. I don't have time to do all the research. Tell me where to go, what to do. This is what I like. So, or when Uber came along, the app, a lot of taxi cab places, man, they were like shook because they didn't know what to do. Now you can, they've created their own app. They're evolving. If they didn't evolve, they would die. And they kind of, maybe that's something to look into. I look at other industries, but they kind of dragged their feet. And, they were really like kind of hardcore against Uber and, like supposedly like things were happening, the underground, the taxi drivers against Uber drivers and stuff. But they had to embrace it, they evolve. And, there's still people there. You can still get a taxi cab. You can still get an Uber. You can do Lyft. Yeah, every answer is as long as I'm giving you. But I think that, if people are going to pay for the experience, if they want to do a branding session, they want something that really looks like them. They want someone to talk to them and pull their personality out. There's going to be a need for that always.
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely agree with you. And that was something that I was going to mention is that I feel like at least from what I've heard, the biggest fear is that photographers are worried about losing business. But like for me, like in a world of chatbots, like I just want human interaction, like when it comes to customer service or really anything, like I just want to like talk to a nice human being, and like you were saying about the experience, like people are going to pay for that. And it's the people who don't care for that are going to do the AI headshot thing. And honestly, like they're not my client anyway. So I'm not super worried about it. Like, yes, I'm going to use AI in my business because I think it's super helpful, but I'm not worried about it taking away business.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So how do you think that AI is changing client expectations in terms of turnaround time, or is it even? Because I honestly don't even know if I've had anybody come up to me and be like, oh, I expect these in 24 hours, kind of a thing. But have you run into that? Like, has anybody expected like a faster turnaround time because they know you use AI or anything like that?
No, and I kind of keep it on the down low. I think that I use AI
Oh, okay.
for a
Yeah.
lot of things, which is, let me rephrase that. But one of my selling points, this is where AI could could hurt me in a way.
Mm.
One of my selling points is because I had over 20 years of Photoshop experience and retouching, is I was really good at retouching. And my people would hire me because they said that my images looked real. They looked like them. They weren't over retouched. They weren't plastic. And when photographers are just starting out, would they use some of that other software and they run it through, like I said, that softening software and things, it would look like plastic. I could pick it out right away. Yeah. The seniors didn't know what was going on, but I knew it didn't look right. And when they looked at my images, it looked right. It looked nice. So that was always a selling point, that I wasn't running it through a software. I was like hand retouching it. I can't say that anymore, and I don't say it anymore. So as far as that might kind of, whenever we have software that makes it easier, that it makes it easier for everyone to get into industry. Digital made it easier to get into industry. Software, AI is making it easier for everyone to get in. So we just have to keep stepping up our game. But no one's ever been like, oh, I need that like right now.
Yeah.
Having said that, where it has benefited me is because I'm showing everything retouched when they come in for their image reveal, they pick their images out and so I can under promise and over deliver. I always say that wrong. I think I got it right.
So funny. I have that exact line in my notes. I'm like,
yeah,
you literally pulled it out.
Pull it out. Yeah. I mean, so they can leave and I could upload those images, create an app, again, just build that app for them, send it to them, and they could have their images that evening. I normally don't do it that fast, but what used to take a few weeks for them to get their images, digital files, which I sell like social media, I sell digital files and prints. They pay up front. So I get paid in full. So I'm like, I have my money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. They already bought prints. They bought everything from me. So I don't mind giving digital files out. But where people run into a problem is they don't get paid up front. They give the digital files out and no one ever comes back and pays them. Of course not. So don't lose your leverage there. So I'm paid in full. So I don't mind firing those images out to them the next day. They are thrilled. They're sharing them. They're getting their word of mouth. They're getting me repeat business. My window is short in Wisconsin for shooting, so as quick as I can turn around. So it's helped me from a customer service standpoint of turning around faster and exceeding expectations and just, having people be like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there was something very small that you said that I would like to expand on, is that when they see their images for the first time at the reveal, they're very excited about it. And so if we can give them those images that night or, within a day or two, they're still riding that high. And so the likelihood of them posting on social media is even higher. And then it's just like the snowball, right? The parents post it, they post it and everything like that. So I do think that using AI for me and editing and having those faster turnaround times is really beneficial. I shoot for a prom dress shop here in Colorado, and what used to take me and Colleen and my editor, because I've never been in love with editing, so I've always outsourced it if I can, but the turnaround time would depend on her schedule and her time available and the intensity of the edits and things like that. So, and these are a lot of images. This is weddings, number of images that we're giving this prom dress shop. It could take, a couple months, which is not what I would love to tell the prom dress shop. But now that there's, I use Evoto for a lot of this stuff, I can just run it through and I can have them turned around in, a couple weeks or less if I'm really trying to to get them done quickly. But that's been really nice with that under promise, over deliver. Like you said, I'll tell them, oh, I'll have them done by the end of the month. And in reality, they have them in their inbox in 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you say, end of the month, knowing, I can get them done tomorrow. And then you just, I'll put it off. I just put it off, Then the end of the month comes and then you're dumping me Evoto. It takes you 10 minutes and then
Exactly.
Oops.
It's so true, though. It's so
Right?
true.
I'm not the only one that does that.
No, no, no. One with my ADHD and my excellent procrastination skills. Yeah. Okay, so then how can photographers differentiate themselves in an industry where AI can like replicate certain styles, their style even?
I'm not sure. I guess it can replicate certain styles. I don't really see that. I feel like
Mm.
I can pick out an AI image pretty easily, but I test my wife all the time because she's not in the photography industry.
Yeah.
And she has a harder time picking it out, which is totally understandable. But AI has a particular look to it, and I feel like every photographer has their own look or are working towards their own look. So there's other photographers that have taught or have seen my style, and every once in a while I'll be like, oh my gosh, that looks like one of my images,
Mm.
kind of thing. Or people like even in print competition, I can pretty much tell whose image is who, even though there's no name attached to it. I'm like, oh, I think that's, so-and-so's image is so-and-so's image. So I think it's important to build your brand, build your style. I don't think AI can really replicate it. Like, I mean, you could type in, do a painting in the style of Da Vinci and it will kind of emulate that, but I don't think it will emulate a Dan Frievalt style.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm that popular yet.
I mean, no,
yeah.
no, I think that's right. I think that, photographers have also been maybe not stealing other photographers' styles for a while, but drawing heavy inspiration from them. And so, I think people think that AI is going to do that too. But the one thing that AI can't replicate is you as a photographer and the experience that you give them. So going back to that, like, I don't think that AI is going to completely ruin the photography industry. I think that we can use it. And I think as long as you continue to give an amazing experience, then the clients will continue to come in.
Yeah. And this one thing I always stress when I teach is that I'm not trying to, I'll give you everything I know and you can replicate it
Yep.
100%. I don't care. But when it comes down to is people are hiring you for you. That's your superpower. Or in the same sense, if you compare yourself, sometimes artists and photographers are always, I'm not as good as this person, not as good as that person. Like social media can be the death of us because we're always thinking we're not good enough because we're comparing to other people. But our clients they don't know all these other photographers and all around the world. They're not comparing. They're not looking at all the images in print comp. They're looking at you and they hire you for you and the experience that you give them. So stop worrying about what someone else is doing on road. Stop worrying about what AI is doing. Focus on you and what you can supply your clients, and they're going to be thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you been in a photo session and as you're taking the images, the mom or the dad or whatever is saying, oh my God, I love everything. I love everything. They haven't seen a single image yet, but they see you working and they know that they're going to love the images. So yeah, AI can't steal that. Like the experiencer, they just know that that's they're there. They know that that's going to be, they're like, how am I going to pick? They're already saying, how am I going to pick? How am I going to pick? They haven't seen
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I don't know about you, but one of the comments I get all the time from the parents is like, I've never seen my daughter like that. She is so happy. She's so much herself right now. Like, thank you so much for that. And it's just like, "Oh, thank you." But like, that's something that an AI photo can't do,
No,
you
no.
know?
And absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So and I'm interested to see if we have similar opinions on this one. With AI handling tasks like culling and editing and things like that, do you think that this is going to lead to a loss of jobs or like reduce a demand for people like editors? Like not specifically us as photographers, but for the editor that I used to outsource to, which I no longer do because I'm using Evoto. Like, what are your opinions on that?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's affecting jobs, especially editors, especially I used to pay another thing I would do is I would also pay a copywriter to help write things for me, email scripts or email sequences, things like that, purchase things. I purchased so many different things like fill in the blank, email, blog posts, things that help me along the way. So, yeah, some of those things, are going to be affected. I know, but there's also other things that they can do. So for instance, I use them for all my editing. I outsource. Ty's a good friend of mine. We've had this discussion because I don't use him for retouching anymore. I feel really bad, but I've used him for other things, like maybe for extractions. Maybe he's evolving too. Like if people want to do composites and don't know anything about composites, they can build a composite for you. They can do a team composite. They can do, more intense editing that Evoto can't do. Or if you're like a fashion photographer, you're going to need a fashion editor to do things like that. Maybe, like anything, these editors need to find different niches to expand on. Maybe it is in the fashion, maybe it's into building composites or something that AI can't do. You always have to keep like, okay, what can I not do? I need to kind of be one step ahead of technology. Always,
right.
Even like going in like the grocery store, like, man, I have to check out my own groceries. Like there's people, there's no one there anymore. Like when I was in high school, I worked at a grocery store. So it's always funny because it's like, I bag groceries and I like, someone had to scan everything. Now you have to do it all yourself. Or like you go fast food, you can order on an app and pick it up, or you go there and there's no one there. You plug your order in. I'm like, then they ask for a tip. What am I tipping for? I'm doing everything.
Who am I tipping?
Who am I tipping? When's the office Christmas party? I want to be invited.
Right. Oh, yeah, so true. Okay, so then to summarize the AI part of our conversation, since this YouTube channel, I would like it to be more geared towards making money as photographers, because I feel like there's a lot of education around Photoshop and editing and lighting and all that stuff, which is fantastic. A lot of photographers need that, but I don't see quite as much about making money. And so that's kind of where I want to go with this one, hopefully. Taking into account all the tools that we've talked about and all the things that you use AI-wise in your business, how can photographers best use AI to make more money or increase their sales or efficiency in their business?
I think what you just said, if you can be more efficient and I always stress outsourcing. But if you can do it quickly now in-house, you're going to save money that way, be profitable. The main reason for outsourcing is to focus on the things only you can do. So only I can pick up that camera, be in that session, create that experience. Only I can be out networking and getting more clients in. That's where I need to spend my time. So if it's not sitting in front of a computer removing pimples, so either outsource that, have Evoto do it quickly, however you need to do to get you to have more time. You know what I mean? So that you have more time to do the things that only you can do, and maybe it's even like outsourcing. I say that it doesn't just have to be photography related. It can be someone cleaning your studio. If you're cleaning your studio, you might be better off paying someone not that much to clean because, if it takes you 2 hours to clean, what's your dollar per hour worth? You could be doing something much more valuable that would easily pay for that cleaning service or that high school kid you can have come in and clean. And it could be things around the house. It could be, care, whatever. So being as efficient as possible, outsourcing everything you can or bringing AI in to be more efficient with what you do will make you more profit. We talked about showing images already retouched, can help you make more profit. I think you'll sell more images that way, but having, the right system on the back end, having products, having the right, packages or create a collection or sales scripts or things that, can then take the imagery that you worked so hard on and not just give it away. That's where a lot of artists fail. They don't know how to sell. I don't know how to sell either, but I've come up with systems to help me in that process so I don't feel like a salesperson and I don't, I'm not selling to them. I'm letting the images sell themselves, but I have a system where they have, incentives to purchase more and invest in more. So,
right.
I think all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I think the biggest thing it can give us back is time, because time is really like the only thing that we can't make more of. So if we can, use things to be more efficient and to give us that time back, then we can use that time to book more clients or even honestly like spend more time with our family and do stuff like that. So I personally think overall the AI is really going to help our industry and is helping our industry. And I hope other photographers see it too.
Yeah, absolutely. starting out, you kind of have to hustle a little bit, but it used to be, the analogy of like a plane taking off. Like you got to put a lot into it to get up into the air. But once you're kind of there, you could, kind of coast a little bit easier. And so for years, I killed myself doing everything possible. But once I started to niche down and focus on seniors and, implement things and systems and using AI or outsourcing things, it gave me a lot more time to focus on other things, to enjoy life, to not work on the weekends, I love now even taking Fridays off. I'm like, in the summer, man, I'm doing 3-4 day weekends. I love it. When in the past, heck no, I was killing myself, and you're just going to burn out, and then you're not going to be good for anyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned that one the hard way.
We all do. I think we all kind of have to do it. We hear it from people. We don't believe it. No, I can do this and that. But all of a sudden you hit a low point or breaking point and realize, something's got to change.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Dan, let's talk about the Peak Senior Summit. I know it's kind of one of your babies. So what inspired you to create the Peak Senior Summit? Like, tell me the origin story behind it.
I mean, a good question. When you have a creative mind and ADHD, like you said, it's like there's a million things firing right at once, right? It's like, okay, but what thing am I going to act on? Like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. I'm all a squirrel, all over the place. So, it's just an idea, that I've wanted to do for a long time. I love teaching. I started teaching in photography, and people saw something in me. And they're like, you should teach, or I want to learn this technique from you. And it scared me at first. And then I just got a rush from it. It was like so cool. And it was like similar to a senior session where you see that senior transforming in front of you. It's like, oh, when you see the light bulb going off on something, or someone believing in your technique and wanting to learn from you, it's really uplifting and really rewarding. So I would teach all over, and I would travel and teach and travel and teach. And loved it. But that also, took me a lot of time away from the studio and took a lot of bandwidth as well, especially when I did After Dark. So the people from After Dark, it was crazy. It was at least 4 times a year. We would basically not sleep for 3-4 days. Like you were, out teaching. And then after teaching, you were up till 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then back up and teaching by like noon again the next day. And just like, it was crazy. And it was a ball of energy. It was awesome. But it takes a toll on you. And then that kind of folded, and I really felt like I met my best creative friends, the people I really connected with, and I missed them. And so I just started the Cheaters Unlock Facebook page, where we could kind of connect. Everyone had a Facebook page, or there's more Facebook pages now. And then I was like, you know what? I want to do like something that everyone can afford, because not everyone can go to a conference, and I can't afford to put on a conference. It's too much overhead. And so what if I did something, virtually, something online? And this was before COVID and everything. So it was kind of like, I think I can pull this off. And then it kind of COVID hit, and it kind of, everyone was doing it. So that was interesting. But I kind of just came about with wanting to bring education to as many people as possible. I started just on my own doing webinars and doing education that way and having my membership. But I really like hang around other creative people, like you, and even teaching. Like I get so much when I teach from the other attendees. It's so, you can learn so much always if you have an open mind. Mm-hmm. So I want to be around other creative people. I want to push myself and learn new things from other people. So bringing everyone together and doing this in an online format just kind of made sense to me. And it was just something that I can pull this off. I have the infrastructure for it. I'm kind of techie, so I can put the technical stuff together. And I know a lot of people from teaching. So I think if I ask my friends, like, would you do this? And then it's not all on me either. I don't always like it's all on me, like this and this and that. It's like, I like to highlight other people, and like this person's rocking this area, that person's rocking something else. And seeing something in them that maybe they don't see. That, same thing that when I started teaching people, they saw something in me and they gave me the confidence to do it. And I love seeing talent out there that other people need to see and be like, I have a platform, I want to bring you on, and other people need to see what you're doing, because what you're doing is so awesome.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. And now it's harder to be like a speaker in a way, because I worked my way up from like a local associations, and little, groups, PPA groups, and then you kind of maybe get into a bigger like national group, and then maybe imaging or to sync or the WPPI. Now those are kind of gone away, and those opportunities are gone. So it's harder to jump right from not teaching it all to I'm going to be on the main stage at imaging or at sync, and that's pretty intimidating as well. So, to have a platform that's less intimidating and like get your chops in or get some of those bugs worked out and work your way up to the main stage, like someone else I know, Miss Sarah, will be at Sync, and it was so awesome you kept it from me last year, and then I saw her, I was like,
I wanted to. I was sworn.
Yes,
I
know.
Sworn by oath.
Everyone's always sworn, but it's like, oh, it's so awesome to see when they announce your name. So yes, awesome.
I mean, literally, it's all. I know I've said it a billion times, and you're probably tired of me telling you, but it is literally all thanks to you that happened, because literally what you were just saying is what happened to me. Like, you and I met at that senior photography workshop Fusion, and then we started talking, and you thought maybe I could, do the Peak Senior Summit last year, and kind of just worked out and gave it a shot and really enjoyed it. And then that's how Darty from Sync found me as well. So, and then for people watching this right now, I'm speaking on stage at Sync for the very first time. So a little nerve-wracking, excited, but nerve-wracking. So
you'll do great. You will do great. Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes, you will.
Hopefully. Okay, so then, because it's not like a traditional conference, tell me about kind of the structure of the summit and kind of what attendees can expect from that.
Yeah, so the structure is we kind of treat it kind of like a live event, although all of the presentations are pre-recorded to make it easier on the speakers. Also, just the technical aspect, it's so much easier to do it that way. And the event is free, which is pretty amazing as well, because these are 25 like awesome award-winning photographers that are doing this. They pre-record the programs. You can get your free ticket, and if you show up live every day, like everyone's like, it sounds too good to be true. Well, if you show up live every day, and there's like 9 programs per day, and watch every program, they're up for 24 hours, you can attend the whole thing for absolutely free. I don't suggest you do that because you're going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah, I don't know if you could digest that much information in such a short period
you're
of time.
not going to. You're probably not. So, when they say, what's the hook or what's the catch, there's really no catch. You can do that. Or maybe you're more advanced in your photography career and you only need, a couple different programs you want to watch. You can do that. Yeah. Once you sign up, you'll get an offer to purchase the VIP Peak Power Pack, which is you get lifetime access to all the recordings. So you don't have to show up every day, or you can focus on 1 to 2 things that you need help with right now, get those down, and then revisit the next 2 things you need to work on, and just keep plugging away throughout the year, because you have access throughout the year or for lifetime to all the presentations, which I think is super cool. Like, even when you go to in-person conference, you're taking a bunch of notes, and it is a lot of information. By the last day, your mind is kind of fried, and then you have to go home, and then you have to catch up, and then you have to go through your notes. I'm like, what did I write? Like, what did I mean? What's this little flower in the corner? So you have to organize everything.
Yeah, I have like 55 notebooks, and they're all in different drawers and on different desks. And I'm like, which one was it? Like, I have to find this, and then I have to like search through all of them. And it's a whole thing.
Should we show Dan's?
There you go. Here, I've got one. That's about
There we
it. See, that's exactly how I am. It must be
These
an
are
age.
Yes, it is. And I'm like, what did I write that? And in the beginning, I was pretty good. Each year I'd have a notebook, and I would put on the front like the year and each conference I went to, and I had tabs for each speaker's name. I just threw them out, I think, this spring to make room. It was fun to see. But yeah, like when you're at a conference, you wish you could stop or pause or rewind or revisit that in a couple months when you had time to, okay, now I want to implement this senior marketing or a senior model team. I don't have time right now. I need to work on my lighting or my pricing. But in the spring, I want to launch my model team. Well, then I'm looking at my notes. I don't remember what, so-and-so said about the model teams. That's why I think this is very beneficial, is to revisit the content at any time, pause, fast forward, rewind. We treat it like a live event. So the week that it's live, I have the Facebook page, the Peak Senior Facebook page. So once you sign up, if you get the free ticket or the paid, you get into the Facebook page, and then you can ask speakers questions, which you can't always do either live from stage. It's time. So it could be like, hey, Sarah, can you expand a little bit more on what you talked about in your program about pricing yourself to be, the luxury photographer or something, so you have a little access to speakers, which you don't always have in a live event. And then if you did, like I said, the paid upgrade, you also get bonus items for speakers, which is nice. So you can have posing guides, and you can have sales tools, and you can have, I think the other thing there's tons of different extra bonus items in there. There's a rep model handbook. There's a get your client ready kind of handbook, like what to wear, session prep guide, like a lot of cool things. You have some sales things in there, spreadsheets and stuff to figure out profit, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of like bonus items in there with the Peak Power Pack. There's also 2 trainings that I do. So one is going to be on AI. So
nice.
I'm going to show you how I doing some of these things that we talked about today, as well as I'm doing like kind of like an introduction to in-person sales and how to maximize it, because there's a lot of newbies that show up to the summit that want to get into in-person sales, but they're intimidated. And so I've been asked to kind of do more of a, how do I transition from just, selling digital files into being, I want to go legit, or I want to be more profitable. How can I transition, and what are the steps I need to do that? So I'm doing 2. Those are live. So you show up live, and we're going to do it via Zoom. I'm going to do the presentation, ask questions, and answer things afterwards. So those are 2 other bonus trainings that I'm doing with the Peak Power Pack. It's a lot of stuff.
Nice. I think it's a great deal, but that's me.
Yeah, I do too. But that's me. But, when you look at what I've paid over the years, the hundreds of $1,000s, or, just the travel alone, or a plane ticket. Now, plane tickets, like we're trying to book just something, out to the Grand Canyon. Like, man, it's like plane tickets have really shot up. You can't go anywhere for like $400 anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kinds of topics and techniques and things like that are covered during these sessions? Like, what's kind of like the gambit that the speakers are talking about?
Good question. I kind of do this off the top of my head, or I just did this today, which is kind of interesting. So I just used, my voice got really high there. I just used ChatGPT. So this is another cool thing I've been using ChatGPT for, is I can take a bunch of stuff, just like copy it all, put it in, and say, so I took everyone's program. I just copied everything from the website, their descriptions and everything, and said, okay, take all this information, put it into a chart for me, organize it by category. And so that's what it did for me. And it was pretty accurate. I just moved a few things around. So I created a little spreadsheet, which is cool. Business and marketing, we have like 7 different programs. So photography techniques, we have 7 different techniques. So creative processes and editing, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Like sales and client experience, we kind of have 2. Social media, we have like 2 different programs. Other photography niches, there's like 3 ones for that. Mindset 2, and then like the bonus trainings that I'm doing are 2. So it's, a lot of people, like you talked about on this, you want your program to be about being profitable. Not a lot of people talk on that. So I want to stress that as well. The unfortunate thing is those creatives gloss over those programs. That's what they should be spending the most time on. But it's like, ooh, shiny. Like, like Josh Hanna's doing color editing. Ooh, let's go look at that,
True. Because that's like the fun part, right? You're right. It's like shiny. It's exciting. Like, that's really fun. The business and financial part, I think people are scared of money, honestly. And I think that that's kind of why they shy away from it a little bit. But if you don't have a good financial foundation for your business, then it might not be successful,
It won't be successful. Yeah. And also finding speakers that make business stuff exciting, which is, you do a great job with your,
Thanks.
Like, you don't want to be like, Bueller. Does anyone know what cost of sales are? Anyone? Cost of sales.
Do the bloopers at the end help?
They do. Yes, they absolutely do. You got to tell everyone you have to stay till the end.
Stay till the end with the bloopers.
Yeah. But yeah, circling back, I've seen so many photographers that are amazing artists, shoot better than anyone else, creative, wonderful imagery, and they are the most broke, unfortunately, both photographers that I know. And then there are other photographers where you look at their work And you'd be like, not impressed. And they're the ones that are banking millions of dollars a year
Yeah.
because they know sales, they know how to market, how to sell. And it's not about the art for them. They're looking at it as a business. I try and, blend somewhere in between where I can be my artsy guy but I need to make money to survive. And as an artist, that's hard to do. It's hard to sell yourself and to sell your art. It's always easy to get apart.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also times when I didn't have anything. I grew up with nothing. So I can be like, I can feel guilty charging this, or I can be like, you know what? Like, I like don't have anything. I need to make money. So,
Yeah. No, it's true. And I think what you said about finding that intersection between the art and the business is really key because, I think you're right. Like as artists, we always pick apart our work and we never think it's good enough. And oftentimes we don't worry about the business side of it, but it's really important to do that to make money and to be successful. I think that your summit does a really good job of bringing that together and having the creative classes, but then also having the business classes. And so someone attending it will have like a really well-rounded education from that.
Yeah. And I purposely set up this schedule to kind of force people into that. Like, I don't want like a whole day of just business because that would be too much too. I want to sprinkle in like, each day, a little creativity, a little business, a little mindset, like something where it'll keep your mind bouncing all over the place and be interesting. And so, I really want to, I see the importance of business. So I really want to bring that, to the forefront, but also, sprinkle in the creative because everybody always wants that. In fact, this year it's, based on the feedback, it's like, you know what, can you have more intro stuff, like the intro the in-person sales? Okay, I'll do a program on that. How about like something with tween program? So I'm doing a tween program. How about something that, what was another thing? Oh, they want to see more shooting, of course, because it's so cool to see the inner workings of what someone's setting up and creating the image. That's a little bit harder.
I just recorded my prom dress shoot with like 50 different girls. So if you need that for next year, I did a whole like behind the scenes opposing groups.
I'm barking you down.
So have you noticed any specific trends with senior photography that has influenced the content that goes into the summit?
The trends itself? No, I think I just kind of keep my eye. I love looking at other photographers' work and like, I love seeing images in print competition and being inspired by them and being like, who's that photographer? That's a cool look. Like, that's really cutting edge, So I kind of look at more what photographers are doing and be like, hey, would you love to be a speaker? Because I think you have a lot to offer and your style and what you're doing is great, or you're kicking butt on sales, or, I want to have you present and show because what you're doing is cool. Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at it when I'm putting it together.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Okay, so then tell me about like the most rewarding part about doing this summit.
When it's over? So there's two rewarding parts. The first one is, like I said, I enjoy like finding like speakers out there, someone that maybe someone doesn't know. I love like being on the hunt for that. That's like reward number one. Then kind of reward number two is, even though it is virtual, that Facebook group where people sending messages to the speakers or to myself, how, it's changed their life, where they couldn't afford a conference. And this is, something where they thought, oh, this is going to be lame, but they're like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. Like that's really rewarding, and take a lot of pride in that and getting good information out there at a super affordable price. That is, super rewarding because you can get those virtual light bulbs. Not as good as in person, but you get those and you feel like you're making a difference. Or a lot of times I don't hear a whole lot. And, I hear enough to be like, okay, that's good. And I'm always asking for feedback. So you also take the bad with it. Like, I hear complaints and try and improve on it, but that's part of it. You want to get the good and the bad and refine it each year. That's nice. Or even when I am in person, what amazes me is when I do go to an in-person event, how many people come up to me and be like, oh, that thing that you did online. They don't always remember the name. I'm like, Peak? He's like, yeah, that's it. Or the webinar. Like, I do so much sometimes but pretty much now it's like, yeah, that summit, I learned a lot, or that was really good, or thank you. So sometimes people don't always, I don't expect them to, say thank you or send me a note online. But so many people, when I'm in person, they go out of their way. And that's just like, that makes my day because it it validates that we're doing a good thing. And all the hard work that goes into it does, make it worthwhile. Or when you see Sarah's name being announced at Sync for the next year, you're like, that's awesome. And I don't like to take credit for it. I just, like I said, I like to just pay back, to give back to the industry. If we all, again, kind of come with AI and everything and competition, like AI is competition, some people could say, or some people could say the person down the street is competition. I say the only competition is me, because that's the only thing I can change. So if I keep educating myself, if I keep pushing myself, if I keep making the experience great, that's all I can control. Do I get upset sometimes? Do I get like nervous? Yeah, I'm human, but I push it aside and be like, what can I do to change? And so if we're all elevating the photography industry, we're all going to get better, and it's all going to pay off in the end. So that's my goal in life, is just to help us all succeed.
Yeah. And what an amazing purpose, like genuinely. Like I said in the beginning, like you're one of the nicest, most genuine, authentic people I think I've met. And it's so amazing that you want to help other photographers reach the success that you have. It's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, man. And I truly do. It's like that is rewarding. And then, like I said, it's also beneficial, because instead of complaining about the person that might be down the road that is, not charging enough, if they can find the summit and see someone like you that's like successful, or someone else, like, I didn't think I could charge that. Like, I didn't think it was physically possible. Being inspired, by you or by me or someone else that's on the summit, they raise their prices. All of a sudden, they're like at the same level. Yeah, you're not competing against each other. You're lifting everyone up. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it really does lift up the entire industry at that point. Yeah. Okay, so then tell me about the long-term goals for the Peak Senior Summit. Like, do you see it evolving in the future? Is it going to stay online? Is it going to go in person?
That's one of the things that I keep getting asked, like, you have to do this in person. I'm like, and just yesterday I was driving going, how can I make this work in person?
Yeah.
Would there ever be a chance that I could make this work in person? And I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do it myself. Like, I do the summit myself 100%.
Yeah. A lot of work.
Which is the one thing. Yeah. Last year I did outsource it. This year, instead of outsourcing some of the things, I said, because we moved it, I actually had more time to do things. So that helped me to get things done. I did outsource like the Facebook ads and stuff, because I didn't want to deal with that. So that's about the only thing I'm outsourcing. But I'd like to just do it myself. To do it in person, I would need a team. And as much as I'm good at rallying people together, I don't know how good of a team, like allocating things for people to do. I'm not really good at that, because it's so like discombobulated in my head.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to like explain what I need done, or it's kind of hard that way. So who knows? There might be something that evolves, but nothing happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I feel it's kind of nice having it online. As a speaker, you get to pre-record something and then submit it. But then also as an attendee, like you said, you can watch it from your own home. You have 24 hours to watch it from when it goes live for free. And then if you want, you have everything recorded for life if you decide to, buy the Peak Power Pack, and then you can watch it as many times as you want for forever. Something in person, you can't really do that,
Right. I mean, if anything, the idea I kicked around is to do kind of like a hybrid, like a creative live type thing, where let's say we had admission or something where there was 10 or 15 people, and that was kind of hands-on, and then we recorded it, and then that was the presentation. So you could have a hybrid model where if you could afford to go in person and get that more personal touch, and then out of that we created content, and that was part of the summit. It'd be pretty cool. I would love that, because I also would love to just hang back and be the host. And that's kind of what I've done with my membership a little bit. I do a lot of training in there, but I've also recorded other photographers and be like, hey, so explain what you're doing here. And okay, I saw you do this. I know you did it on purpose. So explain why you put their foot that way, and, things like that. So that part I love. So that might be kind of the hybrid method evolve someday. And, I'll get a tour bus. I'll be able to go on tour like I always wanted to do.
You should. I'll be the bus driver. No, actually,
There
I
you
can't
go.
do that. Well, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure talking with you. And I'm so excited about everything that you're doing with the Peak Senior Summit and the insights that you've shared about AI and the photography industry. If you're a photographer and you're looking to take your senior photography to the next level, you definitely don't want to miss the Peak Senior Summit. You can grab your free ticket in the description below. I put a link down there for you. It will be an incredible opportunity, like we've talked about, really, and especially all the bonus items. I mean, that within itself is worth it. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, comment, subscribe for more content like this, and then let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts on AI? Did you agree with us or did you not agree with us? And we'll see you next time.